Hello, dumplings. Welcome to the Let's Get Ugly podcast, where we dive into the latest beauty, lifestyle, and wellness secrets that aren't always pretty, but always real.
We're your co-hosts, Trishna and Disha,
the sister duo keeping it 100% authentic and a little bit sassy and silly.
That's definitely right. But we will be chatting with some amazing industry insiders across a variety of landscapes from beauty, lifestyle, wellness, and even more. We really are focusing on people that we feel are making a true impact in the field.
We're here to share real perspectives and really get into topics without the BS misconceptions that are out there.
So grab a drink, let's get comfy, and let's get started. This is Let's Get Ugly. We've got an amazing guest, Aili Seghetti, head curator at the Intimacy Curator. We'll be talking about all things sexual wellness, plus some fun tips and tricks you won't want to miss.
And we cannot wait to introduce you to her. So hello, Aili. How are you today?
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Of course.
It looks like it's going to be quite exciting.
always fun with us. So just wanted to jump right into it and ask you that it's super interesting that you moved to India over 15 years ago. What kind of pushed you to move here?
I studied Hindi in the UK. I have a degree in Hindi. So I started living a sort of Indian life. I fell in love with the country when I came the first time in 2000. And then I got obsessed, started watching Bollywood and sort of decided to move. And so for my dissertation, I came here to write my dissertation and then I stayed. So it's just, I'm an Indophile and that's what I should be. Otherwise, I'll end up spending too much time in South.
That is honestly amazing. I mean, speaking of Bollywood, what was your favorite movie at the time? Or what is it now, actually?
So first movie I saw was Mohabbatein.
Oh.
And then I backtracked into like 80s and 60s and 70s. So my favorite movie is Satyam Shivam Sundaram. I don't know if you've seen that.
That's a deep movie.
Yeah, that is. That is a really good
It's
movie.
around beauty and sort of how beauty is not really what.
Yeah, absolutely.
And beauty within is not like external.
All of perception. Very
Definitely.
interesting.
That's so cool. I mean, getting into your line of work now, I mean, you transitioned from consumer research to intimacy coaching. What inspired that significant career shift for you? And you know, you've also worked with tech clients as well, like Tinder and Bumble. Like, how do you kind of use all of that in your current practice?
So I kind of enjoyed talking to people and consumers about relationships, sex, love, and this was for these companies like Bumble and Tinder and Facebook at that time was planning to launch a dating app as well, or like a dating function. I realized by talking to people, especially in small towns across India, that there's a lot of challenges, or there's a lot of sort of contradiction with what people want and need and what society actually tells them that is good for them. So one of the things is dating, for example, like when you live in a competitive sort of market like India, you are taught from when you're a child that you're supposed to like study and achieve goals, like academic goals and then professional goals. So when people look at dating, sex, love, falling in love with someone, they see it as a waste of time. And that's what a lot of parents say. Don't waste your time on girls, or don't waste your time on boys, or sex is not something that you should be thinking about. It's bad for you, etc. So I love challenges and contradictions. So that's how I ended up like moving from consumer research to this, like starting a business in the field of, I would say, intimacy and also, sexual.
Well, tell us a little bit about your business, because I'm so curious. What is the Intimacy Curator?
It's primarily a coaching business. So the idea is that we all have different types of preferences or fantasies, or we have different ways of relating to people at an intimate level. So we look at what is it that makes sense for you to a normal coaching experience. Like when you go to a career coach or you go to a, I don't know, this is that, like a life coach, you say, okay, I want to achieve this goal. Like, oh, I have this issue. I want to get married. Or I just want to have sex. I want to have casual sex. I want to have an orgasm. I've never had an orgasm. I have erectile dysfunction. I struggle connecting with people. I don't know how to express my feelings. Mm-hmm. So you set up a goal and then you work, strategies all the time. In the coaching process, what happened, I met a lot of clients who were opening up their relationships. So they were exploring polyamory, non-monogamy, and that's how I started running events as well. So right now it's coaching 1-on-1, 1-to-2 with couples, and then 1-to-3 or 4 if it's a polycule, and then to many during events. So there is an element of education and an element of fun when we run events, and that's what the business has.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how often do you do these events?
Events we have every couple of months across cities, Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, and we're going to Hyderabad, Kolkata as well. So.
Amazing.
Wow, that's so interesting. Obviously with your coaching, you use a somatica method, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So how does it differ from traditional talk therapy or traditional coaching? Like, what is the key difference there?
So there are, obviously, the business of, or the industry of intimacy coaching is expanding, and there are different ways and different methodologies that people use. Somatica is based on the body, a lot on the body. So there are not just talk-based coaching sessions, but there are also touch-based coaching sessions. So we experience touch with clients. So if you're a somatica coach, you would experience maybe holding hands, cuddling, building intimacy, flirting, how to make the first move, how to arouse or get aroused, or how to express what you want or what you desire. And then you role play it with your body. So there are boundaries to the method. So you don't kiss. You don't touch genitals, and there is no nudity. The touch is primarily on body parts that are outside the bikini area.
Okay.
So, but you end up rolling with a client on a bed, for example. So it can become very sexual and very like real life intimacy up to a point where but you don't have sex. There is a different sort of group of people who also engage in sex. It's called sex celibacy. So for people who actually struggle with penetration or with genital kind of engagements, whatever you want to call it, because it's not necessary that you have penetration. Right? I don't
just
know.
like the term genital engagement.
Sounds so professional.
Yeah. So you can train to become a sex surrogate, but it's illegal in most countries. In the UK, in the US, it's legal. In some states of the US, in India, it's illegal. So that's also a different way of engaging your body as an intimacy.
That's very interesting. Super interesting. Earlier we were touching a bit about how, talking about sex, thinking about sex, or relationship in general is a taboo. How does this then go hand in hand with kind of helping people overcome that? Like, what does it do for them kind of mentally?
To overcome sexual taboos?
Mm-hmm.
I think people feel that, I think what shame does to you is it shuts you down from experiencing creative energy. But more than sex is sort of intimacy that we need. Actually, you can live a whole life without having sex. It's not really like food. They always compare sex with food, but it's not like that. You can live. And what we need is intimacy. So it's physical touch and connecting physically to another human being. But sex is not really necessary. So once you live in shame and it's a taboo, you end up feeling, you could also develop all sorts of physical issues like people have arthritis or immunity problems if they don't receive touch when they are children. So it makes someone really shut down towards creative energy and life and exciting experiences. It's also challenging to find romantic partners because a lot of times people require like physical engagements in the relationship. So obviously if you don't want to have sex or you don't want to be physical, your partner might end up doing something else. If that's a problem.
Yeah, of course.
No, I just think that's so interesting, especially the differences between, sex and intimacy as well, because I feel like often when we have discussions like this, especially in the sexual wellness space, intimacy is often something that gets missed out of the equation. So I think it's interesting.
I also feel like intimacy is something that often gets misconstrued, and like the actual word intimacy is often directly associated exclusively with sex for some people as well. And so I think it's really important to define that, they are different. They're connected, but they are different. And at the end of the day, of course, like when you mentioned the experience of children, and you talk about children that haven't received enough touch growing up, leading to illness, that makes total sense as well. So it's so much more related to human nature, actually, more than anything else.
Physical, it's more like physical intimacy is a physical need. Sex, not so much. And when we talk about sex, we usually understand it as some form of engagement of sexual organs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but intimacy, and that's why kink or BDSM or other alternative communities like the queer one or the ace one, like when you are on an ace spectrum, you might be asexual, but you might engage in other forms of intimacy that don't really touch genitals. And those can be much deeper than, going for a one-night stand or having an exciting night of whatever form of sex.
I think it's so interesting. I mean, India obviously has a really, really booming market right now for sexual health and wellness. I mean, I love to see the magazines start to talk about it. And even though that is the case, I think we were just discussing this before we started filming, right? Like, it is still very much difficult and taboo to talk about these topics to an extent. What challenges have you faced? I remember you discussed, some really interesting ones, and I would love to hear them again, but what challenges have you faced in an environment like this?
I think the biggest challenge is this belief that people actually can achieve some sort of intimacy or gratification through a toy and not through a coaching experience. It could be a coaching experience or a therapy experience with a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if someone does not experience orgasm, they've never had an orgasm, they'd rather go and buy a toy than actually talk about why and how to overcome it. So awareness is the biggest challenge. People not knowing that you can actually talk about sex or you can talk about intimacy with a professional. That is the biggest challenge. In terms of people saying stuff, I mean, when we have events, like it's difficult for us to get sponsors, therefore ticket prices need to be high, so therefore people cannot afford these things. We can't find venues. We have to go through extensive vetting of participants to ensure that everybody's safe. Other challenges, I mean, I to be honest, I feel privileged because I am white and therefore I don't have a family behind me that's not like saying, what the hell are you doing? And, like promoting all sorts of things. So I don't think people actually say anything to me, but definitely team members who work for the company, they're young. There are lots of women as well. They are very scared You know,
Wow.
they are afraid that they might meet someone they know. They are worried about what will people say. So a lot of times, it's almost like you're doing something shady when you're not. So they need to, like, their identities need to be covered. They have to use different names and all this kind of challenging.
That is a challenge. That is really tricky. But you've been doing amazing so far anyway.
Yeah, it's been quite good. No costs, no
That's what we always aim for.
No problem. But no, I just think it's so interesting that even people who work the events also feel like they have to conceal their identity.
Yeah, I mean, guys are perfectly fine. But again, it depends on the taboo level. Like, for example, now for a kink event, if you're a submissive man, then you are ashamed. And therefore you would cover your face and you don't want, like, people to know. But if you're a dominant man, then it's perfectly fine. And for a woman, obviously, everything is problematic.
Wow.
And queer is another.
Yeah.
Definitely. So within kind of the events or within the kind of coaching aspect of things, how do you cater to all of those different communities then? Because there's a lot of kind of blocks, right, between some people feeling ashamed because they might be submissive and things like that. So how do you then cater for that?
I think is primarily is to see sex, eroticism as equal to, for example, food. You normalize it as much as you can when you talk about it. And you have to yourself be shameless and be very okay with whatever people tell. People come and they tell all your fantasies. Like, I've heard all sorts of things that I myself am not into. But a non-judgmental environment is what needs to be there at all times, not just from my side, but team members as well. So if people come for an event, they already crossed multiple steps. If they come for a coaching, or even if they inquire about things, they've already crossed like months of contemplating, should I not? Can I pay with my bank account? Because then they'll see my name, it'll reflect on my, like my business bank details, or they're all like, can I pay you cash? Like, can I send someone to pay cash? So these are all sorts of things that they keep on thinking for months and months, and then they'll end up in a coaching session. So prior to that, the only thing I can do is like talk openly about things, and hopefully they'll see that if there are other people expressing themselves, exploring themselves, then it's okay for them. That's the hope.
Seems to be a lot of like mystery, distress, and fear really associated with that, which is really interesting, but also it's fascinating to see like how you're combating that as well, and you're prepared and ready to deal with that. What would you say is like the biggest hurdle for somebody to overcome in order to get to you?
I think conditioning, like decades of conditioning and society, and they're very big. We really underestimate how many layers of conditioning we have to go through, especially queer folks and women. Men are still okay talking about it because there's a sense that, okay, if you're a man, you are supposed to know about sex. You're supposed to talk about sex, and it's perfectly fine. Everybody else is sort of like, are we okay? Are we okay enjoying any sensations in our body? What if I enjoy a sensation that is not what I've seen him for? What is it if it's just like a soft touch on my body, and that's what turns me on, and that's it? Is that normal? So it's a lot of layers and questions, and yeah, these are big questions.
Yeah, that's it. Is that normal? And someone coming to you, is that normal? That's really
is that normal? I hear every day 1,000 times. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
I'm like, yeah, whatever you say is normal. It's perfectly normal.
I mean, I feel like it definitely goes down to even a lack of communication, even if you have like a sexual partner or someone you want to even be intimate with as well, especially for women, because there's such a big orgasm gap there. as well. So how do you then encourage people to talk to their partners as well? Like when they kind of come to do coaching with their partners and things like that, like how does that work?
Yeah, I think we talk about sex, whoever talks about sex, because most people don't, right? Your partner is the last person you will speak about sex, funnily enough. Although you do it, but you don't talk about it. So I always again normalizing and making comparisons with like food or cycling or driving. It's just another activity, like anything else, like cooking. You're learning to cook. You prefer Chinese, so you simplify people that it's not such a big deal. It's not that big deal that you have in your head. Also, maybe introduce them to, okay, my friend likes this. How do you feel about it? So you externalize it. You don't say it's you, and then you say, okay, I have a friend who's into feet. How do you feel about it? And then you gauge the reaction, and then you start talking about it. Or you watch things together. A lot of people want to come out as, for example, non-monogamous, so they want to come out with, okay, I want rough sex, but how do I tell my partner? So show a movie, and then you start introducing the topic, and then you talk about it. But again, it takes a lot to actually break these walls, like no communication.
No, 100%, especially because of all the societal and cultural barriers that we have been talking about in this conversation. I mean, for women and for them kind of understanding themselves and what they want in a relationship, like without a partner and what they would be looking for, is that almost easier then for them to express? Or is it kind of still hard in that way as well?
See, we don't know yet what this pleasure gap is actually. We don't know what. I mean, we definitely know that if you are brought up with a sense of shame around arousal or sexuality, your body parts, your body image, etc., your body will shut down. So a lot of people don't even experience, a lot of women don't experience arousal. They don't even feel the need that, okay, should I even touch myself? A lot of women they're almost grossed out by their genitals, and therefore they don't even go there because it's dirty. And this is what has been taught to a lot of us. So orgasm is become almost trendy, like you have to reach it, so it becomes pressure. Orgasm is not really necessary. It's not that you need to achieve an orgasm. Let's start with pleasure. What gives you pleasure in your body? It could be, any other body part besides your genitals. It could be a massage. It could be, someone touching your hair, or it could be something that you hear. That's that in your senses. We have 5 senses, right? So you can give pleasure, you can experience pleasure through your hearing or by tasting something. So you start with understanding what is your relationship with basic pleasure in your body. Then you can talk about genitals, then you can talk about orgasm, sex toys, blah, blah. But that's not really, if you already put that pressure of having an orgasm to someone, and then when they don't achieve it because it's so complex, it's even worse. So you have to really start from scratch and understanding what is your relationship with pleasure. For women who are raised in a hyper-productive society where you always have to achieve things, right? What is your self-care? How do you take care of yourself? How do you allow yourself those moments where you're experiencing pleasure? It could be makeup, applying makeup, right? So it's tricky. I mean, we have to start from basic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Literally just self-care from a really holistic level,
yeah.
Which is so interesting. We talked about women. We've had a touch point on the queer community as well. But I wanted to ask, are there any other underserved communities that you do work with? So, for example, how do you tackle people with disabilities? Do you have any experiences with that or any examples that you might be able to share?
Yeah, I have. Obviously, people with disabilities are always a minority,
Yes.
like even in this sort of industry. I've had clients who needed aids, like masturbation aids, because, for example, sex toys were not enough. So that's something that, brands are not really talking about, or they're not really thinking about this. Okay. We have a lot of neurodivergent people who have problems with sensations in their body. So they might need either rougher sensations, or they might not need sensations at all. It could be just like verbal stimulation. So there are, I have clients, a lot of them are part of a kinky community, or have discovered because of their disabilities or neurodivergence that they actually enjoy different things. So the ones that have had support in this obviously have found a little bit of a niche in their lives. But it's not really spoken about, it's not really provided like companies and brands.
There definitely is a gap there. I mean, it's really good to hear that they are getting help though. Like they do have access at least to you to be able to do that. And I think that's really important. And it's always these little steps, right? Like in any industry, especially when it comes to underserved communities, it's always just that initial step that someone makes, and then eventually, slowly, the ripple kind of builds, which is amazing to hear, actually.
That's definitely a community that we really care for as well. So it's really exciting to hear that it's kind of extending in a different way as well. Still in like beauty wellness space, but in a way that makes an impact on their daily lives as well, which is really exciting. But in terms of the kink community that is kind of in India, how does it vary region to region, or is it like very much the same everywhere?
I can't really tell because there's no data besides my personal experience.
Your data.
I know that in Gujarat there's a lot of swingers.
Okay.
So a lot of big swinging community in Gujarat and in Punjab as well. I know that in Kerala there are a lot of people who are into BDSM, or even Bangalore is very kinky, big kinky community in Bangalore, so different things. In terms of what people enjoy, is that what you want to know?
Yeah.
Big cuckolding, very, very big in India. Food fetishes are crazy. More people fetishes than anything else. There are lots of articles on it. Group sex, swinging. Now it's sort of picking up, like rope and bondage and shibari is picking up with Gen Z. So there are a lot of sort of workshops and exploring bondage. And I think these are the top.
Wow, that is a lot. And it's so different as well.
I mean, I see a lot of shibari in art. Like there's a lot of photography around shibari as well. So it's interesting.
Yeah. That's why Gen Z picked up on it.
Of course, obviously.
It's trendy in art at the moment.
But do people have misconceptions about BDSM? Like you have clients that come to you with like, is this normal? So of course, I'm sure the answer is yes. But what are some really big ones that people have in general about it?
I think people think that BDSM is about pain, but they really, obviously because there is no information out there and there's no information in mainstream, and then when people make movies in the mainstream, they just pick up on the sort of extreme sides of BDSM. But if you have ever worn a blindfold, or if you've made anyone wear a blindfold and by their hands, you are probably into BDSM yourself. Like if you enjoy tease and denial, like okay, now I'm coming, no, you can't come. Yes, no, which is most Bollywood movies, like, you want to be BDSM, right? So it's called Tease and Denial. Sensorial play, which is just like running feathers or ice or any kind of objects across your body, different sensation. That's also BDSM. It's bondage discipline. If you told someone, okay, get naked right now, that's also BDSM, right? So you don't need pain, you don't need chains to be a part of this community. And people are always scared that it is about pain and hurting. Most of it is like just alternative forms of intimacy.
Wow. Very, very many shades to that, which is interesting.
Definitely. Rihanna got it wrong in her song.
So when it comes to stigma around BDSM, now that we've looked at how many varieties of it there are and how many misconceptions there are, how do you facilitate those conversations to make it comfortable and non-judgmental?
Again, like people need to see others that look like them, like look like normal people are not wearing catsuits and like leather and latex, doing stuff for them to feel that it's okay, it's normal. So again, creating open spaces, creating spaces for only women, because it's easier for women to kind of open up when there is no male energy around.
Interesting.
So you don't have to be queer, or your sexual orientation could be straight as well, but just exploring, again, bondage or flogging sensation that is not extreme with women feels much safer when there are only women around. So I try and create like small spaces where people can be themselves. And also again, like normalizing it, like see there's other people. I try to have as many photos as possible on Instagram so people can see that yes, it is real. It's not just porn, or it's not just Fet Life, or it's not just 50 Shades of Grey. It's just, it can be something fun, like I'm studying movies.
So when it comes to habits, and we talked about Gen Z for a second, and there's Shibari and like the younger consumer, what other trends have you noticed among them?
I think celibacy is one.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot this week, actually.
Yeah, literally, like quite a lot.
Yeah. I think people are, especially Gen Z, is exploring with alternative forms of intimacy, hence your Shibari, where there is no actual like penetrative or sex with genitals. You are intimate with the other person in a different form. I think those years where, especially, as always, women are driving this change, like especially in the past few decades. So I think there was a phase where we're like, okay, sexual liberation or like feeling free meant just going and having sex with everyone. And I think now it's kind of, people have realized that, okay, no, that just not aware or not conscious sex doesn't really work for human beings. It can't be just done as a quick one night stand. And it's not about quantity, it's more about quality. And that's why people are staying away from it for some time, and they are introspecting, looking at what they feel they want, and understanding themselves better. And then again, maybe, and maybe not, going into the world of dating or intimacy or relationships. So I think celibacy is a big.
So when we were talking about Gen Z and the topic of celibacy, there are obviously loads of different spectrums when it comes to how people enjoy pleasure. Why do you feel like there has been that shift for them? And is it something that is going to stick around, do you think?
I think it's good that there is a sort of wave of celibacy. It makes you reflect about what you actually want, physically as well as emotionally, right? So we have physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. If you're celibate and you're just looking for romantic interactions or engagements, that's fine. Or if you're looking for queer platonic experiences, that's perfectly fine. But you need to have some sort of connection with human beings. Is it going to stay? Yes, it will stay for some. It's thousands of years of, especially in India, it's quite well known. It's spoken in the scriptures as well, being celibate, taking a spiritual path. But that's perfectly fine. It's the path for some of us, for sure. But I think that the human need for connection is much stronger. So eventually we will, most of us will end up like having romantic interactions or sexual interactions with others. So it will stay, but it won't be for everyone. That's my opinion.
I think that the work that you're doing is super important, honestly, and I'm so grateful that you agreed to come and sit down with us today, because as I was just kind of thinking, it's a very important conversation that we don't always get to have. And I truly believe that, there is such a stigma around it that people, and a lot of people probably even listening to this, didn't realize that, of course, while these two topics are connected, they are very, very important. And like you said, intimacy is a basic need. And so that's something that I'm definitely taking away from this conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just about like being able to understand, yourself and what you need, and then being able to connect with others because you feel like you can, and you can be more open about it. I think that's really amazing. So it's been an absolute pleasure. But before we wrap up, we have beauty-related questions for you. Starting off with, what is your favorite beauty trend of the moment?
I think I don't know what they're called, but all these like boosters that you like inject.
Oh, yes. Mesotherapy?
I don't know.
Is it like
yeah, profile.
Okay, great. Yeah. So basically like the non-invasive facials with the injectables of vitamins and boosters.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. I don't know how it's gonna go. Like if people are gonna have some sort of reactions to it, but it sounds exciting.
Have you tried them?
I've tried, yes.
Yeah. What did you enjoy? What was the one?
I mean, I didn't enjoy the experience because the
it hurts.
Yeah. Everything hurts, but then you kind of live 2-3 years of your life like on your face, which is great. I mean, I love it.
No, that's amazing. That's why your skin looks so good. That's the secret.
That's the secret.
Literally everyone.
I'll tell you what the secret is. Secret is not to live with your romantic partner. That's the secret. Sleep and water. That's the secret.
Amazing.
I love that. Not living with a romantic partner. Taking note of that.
As much distance as possible.
Being like, you have your life, I'll have my life.
Yes. We meet when we can.
When we need to.
Yeah.
When we want.
Yeah.
What is your biggest must-have beauty hack? So you talked about your favorite trend. What is your ultimate beauty hack?
Besides sleep?
Besides sleep. And water.
I think a very good moisturizer.
And actually, it's really humid here.
Yeah.
What do you use?
I use the Forest Essential because I love this.
Amazing.
Of saffron. Everybody hates them, but I love them. I love that saffron on my face.
Do you use the gel?
No, I use the 24 karat.
Okay.
That one. No, I think it smells amazing. Like, I love all the herbal scents on my face.
Yeah.
It makes you feel so connected to nature and everything. So it's great. But no, on to your biggest beauty regret. Have you ever done anything beauty-wise that you thought, I never want to do that again? Or learned from?
Face or
It could be anything.
fat freezing. What's it called?
Yeah,
that is
fat freezing. Yeah.
Oh, did it just not work, or was it just
No, I mean it worked, but then it just left holes.
Oh.
It just removes one bucket of fat, and then you're left with a hole, and then you don't know how to how do you even it out?
Oh my god, no, because I'm really curious about body treatments, like in general, like especially when it comes to like cellulite reduction and things like that. And there's so much technology around it. So I'm always curious to know, like, if anyone's tried body treatments, is it worth it?
Yeah, so far I haven't seen anything that is actually worth. Like it's not. I've done other stuff as well, but no,
Not worth the hype.
No.
Ah, super interesting. Well, before we wrap up for today, we're going to do a little card reading with our Oracle card deck that is beauty themed but has like life messages on there. So we'll give you a message for the rest of your evening. I personally don't like traveling around with guidebooks either, so the QR codes are super handy in a sense that you can just scan it on your phone and like read your message as well. Of course, there's one for you that we have as well. It's really deep. Oh, message for you for today from me, very aptly dressed in glitter. Stand out from the crowd.
Oh.
So that is one for if there's been any parts of yourself that you've been feeling disconnected to, or if there's anything that you've been wanting to do that's quite striking, now's the time.
Today, yeah.
Today. This afternoon.
Literally, need to do it now. Get the sparkles out. But no, thank you so much for such an insightful conversation. It was honestly amazing.
And it was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You girls are fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's a wrap.